Hello and welcome back to my library. I am the Eclectic Bard, storyteller and stimulator of the imagination. Now remember, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers so I can suffer through the female perspective of a romance novel. So give me the 500 by the end of the year and you will watch me in pain and awkwardness. But on today, we are going to start the area of classics, or at least books I can perceive as classic. I am going to be reading a book called The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Based in the era of the 50s, two sides of town, basically, and two different social groups, almost always fighting. One getting better than the other's side. So, again, I do not own the rights to The Outsiders, to the story at all. Those belong to the author of S.E. Hinton. I am here merely to present it in a very entertaining way. So, let us begin. S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind: Paul Newman and the ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough, and I don't. But I guess my own looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair, and greenish-gray eyes. I wish they were more gray, because I hate most guys that have green eyes. But I have to be content with what I have. My hair is longer than a lot of boys wear theirs, squared off in back and long at the front and sides. But I am a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. I had a long walk home and no company, but I usually loan it anyway. For no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed so I can get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable, like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I'm different that way. I mean, my second oldest brother, Soda, who is 16 going on 17, never cracks a book at all. And my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Derry, works too long and hard to be interested in a story or drawing a picture. So I am not like them, and nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while, I thought I was the only person in the world that did, so I loaned it. Soda tries to understand at least, which is more than Derry does. But then, Soda's different from anybody. He understands everything. Almost. Like he's never hollering at me all the time the way Derry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I ever loved anyone, even Mom and Dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Derry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then, Derry's gone through a lot in his 20 years. Grown up too fast. Soda Pop will never grow up at all. I don't know which way's the best. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, then suddenly wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped. Or someone will come by and scream, "Greaser!" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the Socs. I'm not sure how you spell it. but it's the abbreviation for socials. The jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class us, all us boys on the East Side. We're poorer than the socials and the middle class. I reckon we're wilder too. Not like the socials who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer glasses for kicks and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers are almost like hoods. We steal things and drive old souped-up cars and hold up gas stations and have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Derry would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. Since Mom and Dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So Zoda and I stayed out of trouble as much as we can. And we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I only mean that most greasers do things like that, just like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out, and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. I'm not saying that either socials or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. I could have waited to go to the movies until Barry or Soda Pop got off work. And they would have gone with me or driven me there or walked along, although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Barry to death. Barry thinks his life is enough out inspecting other people's. Or I could have gone one of the gangs that don't come along, one of the four boys Barry and Soda and I have grown up with, and consider a family. We're almost as close as brothers. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I had thought about it, I could have called Barry and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or Two-Bit Matthews, one of our gang, would have come to get me in his car if I had asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Barry nuts when I do stuff like that. Because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades and have a high IQ and everything. But I don't use my head. But besides, I like walking. I about decided I didn't like it so much though when I spotted that red poor bear trailing me. I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I had never been jumped, but I had seen Johnny after 4 socials got a hold of him. And it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16. I knew it wasn't any use though, the fast walking with me. Even before the poor bear pulled up beside me and 5 socials got out, I got pretty scared. I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hit my thumbs, my jeans, and smiled, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised. I remember how he had cried when he found him, half conscious in the cooling water. Johnny had an awful rough home. Took a lot to make him cry. I was sweating something fierce. Although I was cold, I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Brandon, Soda's best buddy, had once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle. But there was nothing, so I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around slowly, silently, smiling. "Hey, Grease," one said in an over-friendly voice. "We're going to do you a favor, Greasy. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Magnus shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. One of them laughed. Then he cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged, so I kept my mouth shut. Need a haircut, greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. You know, I was backing up away from that knife. Of course, I had backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest, with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco. And I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose, and almost did for a second. Then they tightened up on me, and the one on my chest slugged me a couple of times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. How'd you like that haircut begin just below the chin? It occurred to me that they could kill me. I went wild, started screaming for soda, dairy, anything. Someone put his hand over my mouth and I bit harder there, as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again, and they were standing, stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. One of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake! Shut him up!" Then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the soldiers jumped up and left me lying there. Gasping, I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. And someone had me under the armpit and hauled to my feet. It was Derry. "You all right, Pony Boy?" He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because of Derry's always interrupting me without meaning to do. "I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay." He stopped instantly. "I'm sorry." He wasn't really. Derry didn't ever start or anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died, and he looked 25, and a lot of people thought Derry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son. But they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone, without meaning to be. Derry is 6'2", broad-shouldered and muscular. He has dark brown hair that kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like that. But Derry's eyes were his own. He's got eyes that are like two pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of them. He looks older than 20, tough, cool, and smart. He would be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that is not plain hard fact, but he uses his head. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. "They didn't hurt you too bad, did they?" They did. I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore. And I was so nervous that my hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling. But you just don't say that to Derry. "I'm okay." Soda Pop came loping back. Then I had figured that all the noise I had heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. "You got cut up a little, huh, Pony Boy?" I looked at him blankly. "I did?" He pulled out a handkerchief and wetted the end with his tongue and pressed it gently against the side of my head. You're bleeding like a stuck pig. I am. Look. He showed me the handkerchief, red and as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? I remembered the voice. Need a haircut, Greaser? The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. Yeah. Soda was handsomer than anyone else I knew. Not like Derry. Soda's movie star kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. He's not as tall as Derry, and he's a little slimmer. But he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow managed to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight. And in the summer, the sun bleaches it to a shining white gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes. The Soda is one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find the kid who doesn't drink once in a while. But Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living. And he understands everybody. He looked at me more closely. I looked away hurriedly, because if you want to know the truth, I was starting to bawl. I knew it was as white as I felt, and I was shaking like a leaf. So just put his hand on my shoulder. Easy, pony boy. They ain't gonna hurt you no more. I know, I said, but the ground began to blur as I felt hot tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them away impatiently. I'm just a little spooked, that's all. I drew a quivering breath and quit crying. You just don't cry in front of Derry, not unless you're hurt like Johnny had been that day we found him in the vacant lot. Compared to Johnny, I wasn't hurt at all. Soda rubbed my hair. You're an okay kid, Pony. I had to grin at him. Soda can make you grin no matter what. I guess it's because he's always grinning so much himself. You're crazy, Soda. Out of your mind. Derry looked as if he'd like to knock our heads together. You're both nuts. Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he picked up from Two-Bit. It seems to run in this family. Derry stared at him for a second and cracked a grin. Soda Pop isn't afraid of him, like everyone else, and enjoys teasing him. I'd just as soon tease a fully grown grizzly, but for some reason, Derry seems to like being teased by Soda. Our gang had chased the Socs into their car and heaved rocks at them. They came running toward us now, 4 lean, hard guys. They were all as tough as nails and looked at me. I had grown up with them, and they accepted me, even though I was younger, because I was Derry and Soda's kid brother. And I kept my mouth shut good. Steve Randall was 17, tall and lean, with thick, greasy hair he kept combed in a complicated swirl. He was cocky, smart, and Soda's best buddy since grade school. Steve's specialty was cars. He could lift the hubcap quicker and more quietly than anyone in the neighborhood. But he also knew cars upside down and backward. And he could drive anything on wheels. He and Soda worked at the same gas station. Steve part-time and Soda full-time. And their gas station got more customers than any other in town. Whether that was because Steve was so good with cars or because Soda attracted girls like honey that draws flies, I couldn't tell you. I liked Steve only because he was Soda's best friend. He didn't like me. He thought I was a tag-along and a kid. Soda always took me with him when they went places if they weren't taking girls. And that bugged Steve. It wasn't my fault. Soda always asks me. I didn't ask him. Soda doesn't think I'm a kid. Two-Bit Matthews was the oldest of the gang, and the wisecracker of the bunch. He was about 6 feet tall, stocky in build, and very proud of his long, rusty-colored sideburns. He had gray eyes and a wide grin, and he couldn't stop making funny remarks to save his life. You couldn't shut up that guy. He always had to get his 2 bits worth in, hence his name. Even teachers forgot his real name was Keith, and he hardly remembered he had one. Life was one big joke to 2-Bit. He was famous for shoplifting and his black-handled switchblade, which he couldn't have acquired without his first taunt. And he was always smarting off the cops. He couldn't really help it. Everything he said was so irresistibly funny that he just had to let the police in on it to brighten up their dull lives. That's the way he explained it to me. He liked fights, bonds, and for some unfathomable reason, school. He was still a junior at 18 and a half, and he never learned anything. He just went for kicks. I liked him real well because he kept us laughing at ourselves as well as other things. He reminded me of Will Rogers. Maybe it was a grin. If I had to pick the real character of the gang, it would be Dallas Winston. Dally. I used to like to draw his picture when he was in a dangerous mood, for then I could get his personality down in a few lines. He had an elfish face with high cheekbones and a pointed chin. Small, sharp animal teeth and ears like a lynx. His hair was almost white. It was so blonde, and he didn't like haircuts or hair oil either. So it fell over his forehead in wisps and kicked out back in tufts and curls behind his ears and along the nape of his neck. His eyes were blue, blazing, ice, cold with hatred of the whole world. Dally had spent 3 years on the wild side of New York and had been arrested at the age of 10. He was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference separates Greaser from a hood wasn't present in Dally. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. We will stop there for now. So, we have the two groups, Greasers and Socs. One of lower class, the other of high class, rich kids that think they're all that and think they can get away with practically anything. But I think the real question is, what kind of life does Ponyboy actually have? Ponyboy does enjoy his life. He loves his brothers, one more than the other. However, it needs to be said that Ponyboy has had a rough life. And having been rough because of the low income situation he is in, makes his life even harder whenever he gets labeled as a greaser. Even though he likes being one, it makes it dangerous just to walk on the street alone. If you like this content, please subscribe. Give me to 500 by the end of the year so you can watch me suffer. And this has been the Eclectic Bard. Have a great day and farewell.